this question about security really didn't exist until 30 years ago, and with the embassy bombing in Beirut, and which 60, 70 Americans died. And it was the first time we had a really serious discussion about how we had to do a better job on embassy security. And that, keep in mind, that was 1983, it was only 4 years after the takeover in Tehran, in which the American hostages were taken. I mean, Argo's extraordinary. I watched it the other night, and you realize, and I think it's pretty accurate. I mean, all of these people in the embassy and in the consular section going, what do we do? Burn everything, burn everything. But, you know, it's just remarkable that no one really even had a plan for this in the middle of a revolution. And so, you know, there was a big change and a lot of soul searching afterwards. And of course, as ever, not enough money to build, you know, the right sort of architecture and glass walls and all of that. And it sort of limped along. And then, of course, there were the Africa bombings. And after that, they moved ahead pretty quickly. And they built these monstrosities, you know, these huge glass walls and these huge setbacks and these huge bunkers. And when we talk about bunker mentality, that's the last thing you want for diplomacy. Not just because, you know, there are two things for it. One is that U.S. diplomats are representatives of the United States, the same way the architecture of a U.S. embassy is a representative. And if you have huge walls and huge, you know, everything is mirrored and you can't see inside, and there are bars on the windows and all of these things, what's the message? The message, and we're talking about transparency and openness and how much respect we have for people. And when we talk about the importance of art and culture and openness and inclusiveness, and you have, you know, sort of something that looks like was built by Stalin, you know, that sends the wrong cultural message about the United States. And it also is really bad from a point of view that we don't get the right sort of information we need if we're not out there among the people talking to people. If you look at the mistake of the Iraq War, it's because the only people we talked to were Iraqis who were exiles who spoke English, Ahmed Chalabi in particular. The last thing we want to do is hunker down behind walls and only talk to people who say, you know, what they say because they want, you know, us to do what they're interested in rather than what the truth is or what's in the United States' interest. And so, of course, there is this, you know, major, very tough line to walk between taking risks, because it is a dangerous world out there, and shutting yourself off so much. I think Chris Stevens in Benghazi is the ultimate example of it. The Senate report did criticize Stevens. You know, he was offered more protection and didn't take it, decided to go to Benghazi despite the intelligence warnings of the dangers that were there. At the same time, he was an extraordinary diplomat. He knew Libya, he was loved by the Libyan people, and he was personally willing to take the risk, and he gave his life for it. And the politicization of his death is the ultimate example of the danger here, which is we shouldn't make decisions based on politics, and we certainly shouldn't make decisions in which security is the only concern. We've got to find a balance there, and ultimately, U.S. diplomats, if they're willing to take the risk, you know, it's because they want to get out among the people because they need to, and because it's, you know, fundamental to American interests.